Hello, Knockouts. Tonya TKO here, and right now I'm getting ready to review Ready to Love Season 1, Episode 9. And I'm sorry, I'm sure you can tell from my face that this episode just exhausted me. I watched it once when it first came out, and then I just finished watching it again just to refresh everything inside of my mind and also, kind of gain a different, more in depth perspective about the episode. This episode just disgusted me. The first time I saw it, I was entertained just for the entertainment value of it. But when I watched it again, I realized the parallels between this and real life, and I was just really disgusted. So I'm going to give my breakdown, step by step review, but I'm going to give my overall review of the episode and then go to the step by step. Oh, let me just say, I'm Tonya TKO, self love specialist and relationship expert from TonyaTKO.com. I help you learn to love yourself and each other. All right. I'm sorry, this episode was just so draining. My biggest takeaway, my biggest observation from this episode and how it just parallels real life is that none of the men had to make a decision. None of them had to choose. It was like each woman eliminated herself. And I'm disgusted because you know what? It's like the women were bringing up different things to the forefront. Like, you know who you want to be the mother of your children. You know who you want to be a wife. We're not talking about, what to order for lunch. We're not, do you want Chinese or Italian? No. Well, it could be, those could be wives too. But I'm talking about like food. Do you want Chinese food, Italian? You want Thai? No, it's like, this is a really huge decision. And I'm not sure if the men were really approaching it from the standpoint of how big a decision this is and really taking the process seriously and wanting to dive into learning each woman. I feel like the men got let off the hook easy because they never had to choose. And then I noticed something that I thought was really disgusting. What I thought was really disgusting is that after each woman eliminated herself, then all of a sudden you could see the men now make this shift towards making the attempt to pour in to the one who was left standing. And so now Alex brought roses for Ashley, and I was, and then they were like dancing, and you could tell from them dancing that there was just no real chemistry there. And then Ashley in her youth talking about how she doesn't kiss, she wants an established relationship. You know, oh God, I'm telling you, it's exhausting. Let me just tell you all something that I learned in my 20s because I spent the bulk of my 20s celibate. And I learned that no matter how much of a connection you have with a person, no matter how connected you are, no matter how you vibe or vibrate with one another, if there's no sexual connection, if there's no romantic sexual connection between you two, then you're just friends. Listen, you don't have to believe me if you don't want to, but you're just friends. And people who get married and they end up, they pay the bills, come in, go out, but they're missing that key component. It's like you have a roommate. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So when Ashley was like, yeah, we've developed a friendship. Well, duh, of course. Of course. It wouldn't matter how it wouldn't matter how in depth or fantastic or riveting a connection is without that sexual, because you don't have to have sex with a person, but there has to be that sexual chemistry. Because if there isn't that sexual chemistry, if there isn't that sexual connection, no matter how riveting the connection, you two are just riveted friends. That's it. That's it. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Look, sex is so important, and religion and other things, they kind of act like it's something that could be put on the back burner. It's like we have such problems with prostitutes and prostitution. Unless the girl is prostituting herself for a marriage license, then all of a sudden it's honorable. I don't want to go too far into that because some people may not understand what it is that I'm saying. Some people may not understand what it is that I'm saying. Like I did a live broadcast earlier today and somebody was like, what do I do if I'm in this relationship with a person that we're not sexually compatible? If you're not sexually compatible, what do you have besides a nice friend? Anyway, and so here we go. So let's go step by step. Oh God, just exhausting. First, Shay, this is the episode where they were in the cabin and Shay and Michael had gotten into the argument and Shay had decided that she was going to leave after she was barking on him in front of the whole crew. Oh, somebody said that Aaron had sparked that off. I went back and I watched that episode. Yes, Aaron did spark that off, but it was still up to the two people in the argument to conduct themselves as they saw fit. So here goes Shay. She comes downstairs and she's like with her bags by the door and she's like, "Bye." And I'm like, "B, if you're going to leave, freaking leave." I don't like playing those types of games. I don't like playing calling people's bluffs. I don't. And she's like, "I'm gonna make him eat the words," and I'm just like, I don't have time. Which a 41-year-old woman. This is a 41-year-old woman. And I'm just saying, then Mike goes out there, he convinces her to stay and all this, that, and the other. And she's basically like, "I cut my process short for you." No, you know, there wasn't other available men. I mean, you guys got duped into this situation by eliminating men, but then what did you think it was going to be when you started eliminating men and you saw that there was only three left? I really don't know what they thought it was going to be. Then we got Stormy talking to Aaron about his lack of consistency, confronting him about his little gossiping, blah, blah, blah. Then we got Shatava. This part really annoyed me. This part really annoyed me. So Shatava goes down into the man cave while the men are communicating. They're like trying to hash things out, trying to make sense of things themselves. And ladies, we really have to respect the man's time with other men. They need that time. Here she go down into the man cave, and then she goes and she self-eliminates. I don't know. And there's a part of me that feels like if she didn't have those futuristic Star Trek Avenger braids going on in her head where she had no edges and it was pulled, I feel like maybe he might. You know what? I feel like those braids eliminated her because you already know the men are just going towards the person that they're most attracted to. We know that Alex was most attracted to Tiffany. We know that who well, all of the men except for Aaron. Aaron is just trying to go for who's going to be the most foolish. Who's going to be the one to put up with his nonsense and not call him out on his BS. Like Angel was the one who, before he could even get the apology out of his mouth, she's like, "I accept, I accept." And I'm like, let me just go forward. Let me just go forward. Oh, you know what else annoyed me? This is what I'm saying. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to get back to what really annoyed me. So, have you all noticed the tremendous amount of masculine energy of these women? We got I'm a pop smoke and we got Shay or manly. I mean, she's pretty, but she got all of this masculine energy. We got Tiffany, well rooted in that masculine. Just even her face, just uh, uh, she alone just zapped my energy because I'm like, really? There's no joy about her. She's so busy trying to confront and just that. It's like, and then who else? And then who else had the masculine? And then Stormy. You know what? Stormy, yeah. Stormy, I actually, because her and Aaron had that blow up at the table, and you know what? Listen, I want you guys to go watch that part back again, unless you remember when Uncle Tommy was like, "You want to hear from the OG?" When he was telling Aaron, sometimes you just go after them and you just apologize. And Aaron was like, "Well, sometimes mush mouth. Well, sometimes you need this time. Blah, 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 blah." I can only imagine what he's gonna sound like when he's old. It's just not gonna be cute. And and Tommy was like, he was like, oh. And even Mike was like, oh God, this man is so stupid. But if you notice, all of the women ended up getting into these argument with Aaron because each woman was more man than he is. And I think that this is a huge problem in the black community. This is what happens when women don't have men that they respect, that can protect them, that they can feel womanly in front of, that we end up being our own men, and we end up putting our manly side on the attack to protect ourselves from these men who are not going to protect us anyway. That argument at the table was so stupid. Aaron telling his lies about how he was gossiping, this little gossiping Henny. I wanted to get back to what it was that really annoyed me about Shay. One of the things that really annoyed me about Shay is that she was like, I'm a scorch the earth and this, that, and the other and all. And she's like, shouldn't be no choice and all this other stuff just going off. And I'm just like, oh God. And then when Shatava got ready to leave, here she go. She's the one in the biggest amount, the biggest puddle of tears, talking about, I got you anything you need. Ooh, 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 I got you. I'm rocking to the end. And I'm just like, really? How interesting. Okay, rock to the end. When you had all that slick stuff to say about scorching the earth and all, and so now that the woman self-eliminated, now all of a sudden you're so grateful. I'm like, if anything, and Ashley said something along the lines where she was like, because like then they get to the ending part where it's time to meet the families, and Ashley's like, is he what I want? Can I love him and only him for the rest of my life? And I'm like, these women were so busy caught up in the competition of it that they didn't take the time to even think about whether or not this man was the one for them. That back and forth with Stormy and Aaron was so frustrating because I'm like, Stormy, you keep talking about all these red flags. You already see that this man is a bitch made N word. He's a bitch made. You know exactly what I'm trying to say. So I have at the end of this, I have absolutely. It's like part of the reason that I'm so exhausted is because I could feel my own feminine energy being depleted. Like I don't know how many of you know what a Christophene looks like. If you don't know what a Christophene looks like, go look it up on the internet. It's a vegetable. It's a Caribbean vegetable. That's the way my vagina was while listening to Aaron. It was like the bottom part of the Christophene. I just felt my nani. I felt Frenchie just curling back up into itself like this is how I felt watching this. So my vagina was just like inverting inside itself because it got less than dry. It got so turned off that it wanted to suck into itself. Just go look up what a Christophene looks like. I don't know how to spell it. I just know that's what it's called. And if there's a real name for it other than Christophene, you can just write it below because I don't know what it is. So oh God, Tiffany at the dinner, right? So Shatava left, taking the pressure off Mike so that he didn't have to choose. Then at the dinner, when Alex says to Ashley, you really are an amazing woman. You're a light in my soul. And here go Tiffany. And then she's like doing the interview and she's like, come on, man, after all we've been through. And I was just like, God, this woman is exhausting. She's exhausting me and I'm just a viewer. It's like, I don't know what's going on with her. And then they went out to the baseball game. They went out to go do the baseball hitting. And I'm just like, it's like, like, you know what? There was this movie. I can't, Deliver Us from Eva. I don't remember what it was, but there was this movie that starred Gabrielle Union. And Gabrielle Union was basically saying that every man has like a clock, like an internal clock of when they need sex or whatever, right? We all have a certain amount of affection that we need, and we all need a certain amount of pleasure. It's like how I was talking about, you get into these arguments and afterwards you end up having this sex for that release, right? Like a man will put up with stuff from you, But there has to be that release where the dopamine is able to rush in and it gets them addicted into this pattern. But there has to be that pleasure that comes. It was just nonstop, back to back, back to back, back to back arguments with Tiffany where there was no real pleasure. It was just uncomfortable. It was like there was really no upside. So she ended up taking the pressure off of him and allowing him, I feel like my lips are a little dry, allowing him to not have to make a decision because the chemistry, and it's like Ashley just can't even see that the chemistry is not there. Aaron talking about Stormy was trying to smear him because the cameras were on. And then And then Angel, when they were trying, like after Stormy left and the ladies were trying to hip Angel, Angel was like, "Don't worry about me." And I'm like, "Really, dear? Really?" I'm like, "You okay, this is how pretty girls end up getting really hurt because they're not really paying attention. And so sometimes we women we get caught up in the competition of it all that we don't really even look and see. Like some of us are so busy trying to prove our relatives wrong, trying to prove our friends wrong, that we're not even really looking at what it is that we're doing. We're so busy, like people who are, because you don't want people to be like, "I told you so." So you end up really dealing with some mess behind the scenes just to be like, "Aha, look, I converted him. You were wrong." Sometimes you just got to take an L, lady. Speaking of taking an L, another thing that annoyed me about this is that, um, what's his name? Beardy, whatever his name is, Brutus, that he was the one apologizing to Shay, hugging her up. But meanwhile, there was no apology that she gave. And it's like, this is how we women really fall into bad habits and patterns. And that it doesn't serve her and it doesn't serve the relationship, and men don't really serve it for the long haul when they don't really hold their women to task. It's like just in the same way that we have to train our men have to train women on how to love them in the ways that they want to be loved. And if he knows that barking on him in front of other people is something that he just does not vibe and resonate with, that's something that needs to be handled on the spot. And just not no, that behavior from her was unacceptable. She has to be mature enough to be able to pull him aside. And there was never a time where she was called to task to really stretch herself outside of her comfort zone. So going forward, I really think it's cute that Crackjaw and Ashley call each other Chocolaticity. I think it's a great sign of self-love when you can love a person who looks like you. I ain't gonna say nothing else about present day that we living in. Then we get to the whole baseball thing with Tiffany and Alex and just this whole uncomfortable confrontation where she's just like, "You ain't never had a grown woman like me," and this and she just keep going on. And he's like, "This is reason why you're single." And I'm thinking to myself, this is the reason why all of you damn people on this show are single. There ain't nobody, no one of you could point no damn fingers. And then he got the roses for Ashley. Oh, I wanted to mention Crackjaw's brain flu. And I'm sorry if I seem insensitive by calling him Crackjaw. I'm so sorry. I was thinking during the show, and so some of us are thinking that the something that happened on the show helped, but the show looks like it was filmed in the summer, and he developed. For those of you who don't know, Alex, that's his name. Crackjaw's name is Alex. His brain flu came in November, and there was part of me that was like looking at the stress that he was enduring in this faux relationship, and I was like, I wonder how many times he was stressed out, weakened his immune system, or whatever happened. But prayers up to Alex that he and I feel bad for calling him Crackjaw now. However, I am giving a review for the show. Sorry, brother, that you're going through that. Life is such a crazy, crazy journey. I'm telling you, life does not care. This is why you got to get all of the pleasure, make your decisions, be with the people that you want to be with, love the people that you want to love. Don't stress yourself out over people. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. Um, all right. So, oh yeah, where they were talking about they have two women's hearts in their hands. I found that annoying and just, I'm like, you have your heart in your hand. And it just, I felt like the show just gave too much power to people who really didn't deserve that power. That was really draining for me. He's like, we got two people's hearts in our hands, and they, I don't know. I just felt like it just was. This whole show was just a hot, steaming, funky mess. And that's it. I think that's pretty much it. I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. I want to hear your thoughts below. There's one more episode, and I'm glad that there's only one more because I'm growing tired of the lack of just. Ugh. Even at one point, what's her name? Tiffany was like, because he was like, "You so busy trying to check me that you don't check yourself." And she's like, "What do I need to check myself on? What do I need to check myself?" And I'm just like, she can't see herself. And so this is why I talk to people and I'm like, listen, don't worry about trying to figure out my journey. Take your time to really figure out your own. Because it's like, while we're so busy looking outward, we're missing all of the stuff happening inside of us. So I'm growing weary of this show where nobody seems self aware. It's tiring, it's frustrating, it's draining. Because we got a whole bunch of people. I mean, what was the purpose of her coming down there with her bags packed, talking about bye? I'm like, B, if you're gonna leave, leave. It's like you as a grown woman, if you pull up your big girl panties high enough to be like, I'm on my way out, then B, go. It's like, don't say stuff that you don't mean. I don't know if it's because I'm from New York or because I'm grown, but I'm like, say what you mean and mean what you say. Who has time for the theatrics and the drama? That's what I'm saying. A lot of drama and dramatic stuff. And oh, I wanted to say this one last thing before I go about Aaron. Now, you see, Aaron is the type of man who he seems like he works. He seems like he makes money, probably could make more money. He also seems like the type of man that gravitates towards women who make money. Like he seemed really impressed with Courtney's gift. And I was like, this man is I was gonna say a slut, but slut's not the right word for him. Oh, did you all peep how when Stormy and him were sitting down, he was like, "Come closer to me, Stormy, come closer," right? And I'm like, oh, he can't have a conversation without being able to reach his hand out and touch people. It's like he doesn't. He has poor impulse control. He's really immature. He's childlike. Some of you said he's a woman, and I'm like, don't insult women like that, doggone it. He does seem to be operating from his toxic feminine though, because he is a hot mess. But with what I was gonna say about him is that he seems like the type of guy that a woman whose father wasn't there or whose mother wasn't very attentive, he, he seems like the type of guy that a woman would be drawn to if she came from that type of background, so that she could finally heal that, or think she's going to heal it, try to heal it by trying to reel him in. Like I can see the allure of being with a person who's just out of arm's reach. And then it's like, because like when we talk about that dopamine rush, it's like we want that feeling of that situation finally resolving. So we're like, finally, I'm going to get pop to finally give me the time of day. Papa was never there, but I can make Aaron be there. I can turn it around. I can show that I'm worthy, that I'm good enough, and that that I can get his attention because I deserve it. I can show that I deserve it. And I can see how a person who is trying to heal those types of things could be interested in Aaron, because Aaron really isn't ready. I don't see how I was going to say, I don't see how any woman could be interested in him. But like I just said, there are going to be women who have gone through certain things in their past who are going to be interested in him. And I can see Aaron, watching my review and being like, well, I would have never given you the time of day. And I'm like, yeah, okay. See, a person like him, he would be messing with the wrong person with me, because I would turn him upside down and turn his pockets inside out like rabbit ears, and I would leave him on the side of the road like a junkie. He would have his own cracked jaw, wondering which way did she go, which way did she go. I don't play. See, I don't play those. Like if you want to come in and play out. Listen, my father taught me how to play chess from the time I was 7 years old. So I don't have the tolerance. I don't have the tolerance. So yeah. but then does he even really seem like he has money? People like him, I'm going to say this last thing I'm going to get out of the video. People like him who are indecisive and don't like to make decisions. It's like men who come to my video from their recesses of the internet try to act like men who have money and men who have a certain je ne sais quoi that has them be able to make that money, like that's not important. It's like, it's not about the guy not having utensils or plates and all that other stuff. It's about all of the other things that exist inside this man's being, in his life, and in his point of view, that precipitated him not having cutlery and china, right? And there's something about, listen, I like really successful men. I love successful men, men who are very ambitious. And with a man who is very ambitious, there are certain personality traits that go along with that. Like when I talked about, commented back to someone when I was like, if these men were really, they would have been like, okay, listen, this is how we're going to divide the time. And somebody was like, because remember I was talking about the cabin, and they'd be like, go to the women and be like, this is how we're going to divide the time. And they were like, oh, but these men have probably never been in a situation like this before, so we couldn't have really expected them to know. No, this is a people management issue. They claim that these men are business people. They say that Mike is into import, export. And I'm like, what does that really mean? That's a fancy way of saying that a person sells stuff at the flea market. You know what I'm saying? It's I'm just saying, you know? And so they act like these men are businessmen, but I'm telling you, you know what? You know what? There are men who write me, and there's one who's in my inbox now, trying to get tips from me about what it is that women like. They think that women like bad boys, and they're just so confused. Women like masters of their industry. Whatever it is that you're going to do, be the best at it. If you're going to be a bad boy, be the best bad boy that you can be. If you're going to be whatever, just if you're going to be a scientist, be the smartest, the wisest. If you're going to be a race car driver, be the fastest. If you're a basketball player, shoot the highest. A woman is going to be drawn towards men who display excellence in their interests, right? So it's like, I can tell. I can tell whether a man has money by the way he carries himself, by whether or not he makes excuses, whether or not he takes responsibility for his actions, how quickly he bounces back from disappointment, how he handles people. I can tell. So it's like, remember when I was saying that I would never be a person would never invite me over because there are certain things that I'm looking for in I got connected when I was in my 20s. I thought it really didn't matter whether or not I asked the man out or he asked me out. I figured, I was just helping him because I'm bubbly and vivacious anyway. I got caught up with one man who was broke. I really did like him though. He was cool people's, but my stomach, I can't. Brokenness just it I could not flourish. Like when I stopped making videos when I was living in my car, I can't, brokenness in me, it's not my truth. There's nothing in the world that can be right when Tonya is in brokenness. It's not for me. And I know that I need to do whatever it is that I need to do with multiple streams of whatever. I'm not made for that broke life. I'm not. So anyway, so I thought that it really didn't make a big difference whether or not I asked the guy out or didn't. But I ended up with this guy who had very low ambition. Like I saw him, and I do like big men with muscles. I used to like men with big muscles a lot more when I was younger. But anyway, so I saw him. I was down by the World Trade Center and I saw him. He had his big muscles and he had on his little suit and stuff and he was walking. And I was sitting down there in the car waiting for my sister because she had gone to like Century 21. She was shopping down in the area and I was just chilling there. And I saw him and I stopped him. Girl, put your Mac down on him. Turns out he liked me, very attracted to me. And then we got into this relationship, right? But then I noticed in the same way that he was kind of passive with whether or not he would have or wouldn't got my number in the first place. He was really passive with making money and earning money. And it was very frustrating. I'm not here for the, like me, I can, I'm going to tell this last thing and I'm going to get out because this is the longest review I've ever done, right? And I think I'm past the review now at this point. But I read this little anecdote that talked about Michelle Obama and how she and her and Barack went to this restaurant, and she had dated the restaurant owner she had dated, and he was like, "Oh, you almost married a restaurant owner," and she said something along. I'm sure you guys have heard the anecdote, and she was like, "No," he was like, "Oh, you were almost the wife of a restaurant owner," and she was like, "No, if I would have married him, I would have still been the wife of the president of the U.S." And so, like me, I'm the type of woman. Yes, I can motivate my man. I'm the type of woman who can motivate my man to reach extreme heights. But there has to be good foundation there to begin with, where he has that internal driving force. Like I said, inside of my relationship, like how I was talking about the Nigerian dude and with the food and the truffles, we talked about money. We talk about business. When I'm in a relationship with a man, we talk about finances. These are things that power couples do, so ugh. I'm sorry, my mind is just thinking about the difference between broke and non-broke, and just people who, like, there are people who are uncomfortable talking about money. There are people who are uncomfortable with money. And I say this time and time again, if you're uncomfortable with money, you're going to chase money away from you. You're not going to have money if you're uncomfortable with it. So Aaron seems like the type of person Aaron seems like the type of person who could put on a good face, wear some nice clothes, and convince a person that he's on his way somewhere. Take their money and then squander it on some stuff. Just squander it and just continue to have a person pouring into him, believing in him, because he seems like he could talk a good game. However, listen, he does not seem like he has money to a professional analyzer of wealth like me. He doesn't seem like he has money. Yeah, no. Which one of the men on the show seems like they have money? Okay, nephew Tommy to me seems like he has money. Who else? That's Melinda, she seemed like she had money. And who else? Courtney seems like the type of woman who attracts men who have a lot of money. She seems like that type of woman. She seems like she can really shake a man down. And who else? I was ain't what's her name? Stormy. You know what? We didn't go off the deep end now. I'm not discussing these people and their wealth anymore. You wanted my review? There's my review. We got one more episode. I want to hear your thoughts below. All right, Tonya TKO. And I am out. We done talked about everything under the sun. Let me get this video up. I'll see you guys in the comments. Peace.